The views expressed in this podcast are solely those of the podcast host and guest and do not necessarily represent those of our distribution partners, supporting business relationships, or supported audience. Welcome to Transacting Value, where we talk about practical applications for instigating self-worth when dealing with each other and even within ourselves, where we foster a podcast listening experience that lets you hear the power of a value system, from managing burnout, establishing boundaries, fostering community, and finding identity. My name is Josh Porthouse. I'm your host, and we are redefining sovereignty of character. This is why values still hold value. This is Transacting Value.
When you go through that, it sort of changes you, where your why is so strong and so powerful that when you just get crapped on and everyone's saying, no, I'm not interested, you stink, blah, 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 you don't care.
Today on Transacting Value, who you want to become is about more than a value system. Values can help be a shortcut to your identity, to your self-awareness, to how you come across to people in the world at present. Who you want to become in the future is largely determined by your choices today. And that is also relevant when it comes to your finances. Today, we're talking to the CEO of Ironhawk Financial, financial planner Joe Lombardi. And he's going to talk all about what future planning has to do with present character, present self-awareness, and an overall presence in your life. Guys, I'm Josh Porthouse. I'm your host, and from SDYT Media, this is Transacting Value. Joe, how you doing?
Awesome, Josh. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, man. I know you are super busy based on everything we talked about before we hit record, and obviously running your own business, but I really do appreciate your time, man. So thanks for setting some aside for us. I have a favor I want to open with, and I hate doing this in the beginning because it's like me asking for something right out of the gates, but I feel like it's important for everybody listening and watching the channel. So, if you'll amuse everybody, I want to open a few minutes with you, just talking about who you are, right? So, where are you from? Let's build some resonance. What sort of things have shaped your perspective on life as it is today? Events throughout your life, however you want to work that.
Yeah, I mean, I came from a broken home. I came from a divorced family. I grew up in poverty, lived in the streets, the ghetto, the hood, battled my way out. My grandmother gave my dad a loan to start, his company back from the dead, JV Lombardi Builders. Then from there, became wealthy. My dad's business took off. $10-20 million company it was worth, and was buying like new Jordans, and I was buying the Allen Iversons, had like the red and blue ones on one foot and the black and gold ones on the other, going to Wakeman Boys and Girls Club back in the day, So from extreme poverty, I lived in an attic with like no running water and eating like hamburger helper with no hamburger meat and, noodles and eggs with no ketchup, to growing to Fairfield and, still being the poor fat kid, but, going to Knights of Columbus and buying $1,000 worth of football cards and looking for Peyton Manning rookies in 2000 and Randy Moss rookies. And, it was a crazy, crazy, crazy life. My mom left when I was 4. She wanted to party, do drugs, and drink alcohol more than be a mom. And, okay. So just me and my dad. And it was rough, but you don't know you're poor when you're 5, 6, 7, 8 years old, right? You just look back and say, oh, yeah. I remember having to flip 16 times a night in the summer because there's no air conditioning and you're so hot, you're sweating and the bed is soaked. So but you look back and at the time you're like, oh, this is normal, right? So I was very blessed to say, I was able to live in extreme poverty and I was able to live in extreme wealth before my dad fell 3 stories off a ladder and went back to extreme poverty again. But when you live that way, you definitely take a different view on life, right? It's almost like a cheat code. It's I get to experience both sides, right? You hear about these people with silver spoons, they don't have any ambition. Right. And you hear about these people that come from nothing. They have nothing but ambition, but sometimes they try and find the quick way. So it's drugs or crime and they go to jail. Right. I was sort of able to see both, and then got lucky to get into this industry when I was bartending. The CEO of Northwestern Mutual came in when I was 19 years old and said, I love your hustle, your grind, gave me $1,000 tips to come work for me as my underling, So it was a crazy life. I wrote a couple books, 3 of them, but I haven't wrote my memoir yet. So that's something that, I'll probably do in about 20 more years, because I think my life's a lot more crazy to come. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much how it started.
Wow. Wow. Okay. So first off, you said initially you said 5, 6 years old. Nobody really knows what their circumstances are. Obviously, you're just living, experiencing. You take it for what it is. I think a lot of that also translates into people's careers. You work for 20 years, 25 years, 30 years in different industries, and you're like, you don't know any different. You get so accustomed to the routine, maybe a pay raise every now and again if it's shift work, or a promotion every now and again if it's not. But you get accustomed to the lifestyle and you stop asking questions. What do you think was your trigger to start asking questions and not get stuck in that same pattern?
Well, back in high school, right? I was 16. My dad bought me a Nissan Sentra SCR Spec V, right? And I was bartending and waitering, because you got to be able to work at that age, back in the day, that young. So I had a lot of cash. So I would go, to the hood in Bridgeport, and I'd go to like this place called La Primavera. I'd grab like 40s of OE and like 30 packs of Natty Ice, where they charge you like
Of
a
course.
dollar a beer back then.
Yeah.
And I would go up to Greenfield Hill. And I know nobody probably knows much about Connecticut, but Greenfield Hill is like, in Fairfield. Not It's like Greenwich of Fairfield, if you know anything about Greenwich. It's like very, very wealthy town. And I would go out there and I would sell the beers for like $5, and sell the 40s for 20, right? And so I was doing arbitrage, right? And not knowing it, right? So that teaches you a lot. And like I go into some of these guys' houses, and they got 60-foot ceilings, right? Like, it's hard to imagine a ceiling like 60 feet. Like, you're talking these
Gee.
ultra mega mansions, right? And I said, there's no way people live like this, right? Elevators going down to the basement with baseball fields in it. In the basement, he's got a baseball. What? Just the craziest thing you can ever imagine. And I said, if people are living like this, I want a piece. Like, get me
Yeah.
in. So like, seeing it was believing. And unfortunately, a lot of people, they don't get to expand their mind to see what could be. And so they're trapped in their little bubble or box.
Yeah, okay, but I mean, this is your business model. I mean, it's basically your role to show people what they can't see, broaden their perspectives, build out what they could be, right? So, how do you do it? You take people on field trips? Doubt it. What do you do?
No, I have a presentation that I built. I've been doing this 21 years. So I had a presentation I built in about 2016. I was one of Mass Mutual's top agents in the country, and they wanted to buy my presentation, where I walk people through the tax triangle, the 3 different places where you're taxed. I walk through liquidity. I walk through market preservation, how to save $1 million in taxes, and it's an elevator view, right? It's something that's from the top down, where the average American who has very little to no expertise on financial investing or investments or insurance policies or IRS codes, or they don't understand any of it. And I try to bring it to like a elevator view. So it was all about simplifying, KISS, keep it stupid simple. And if you can do that, you can attract a lot more people to stay with you. Because when I start throwing out acronyms like IRS code section 7702, MEX funding, index universal life, IULs, and you got a FIA, fixed index, and people are just like, huh, what?
Yeah.
I'm already asleep. So you have to be able to communicate in a way that they can stay with you and understand what you're talking about.
Okay, and then what about on the receiving end? Because it sounds like at one point that was you, and then you learned and got your licensure and experience, right? What did it feel like then? Or is that where you got the inspiration to simplify?
When you live a life where your mom doesn't want you, she ends up dying at 52 years old, strokes liver from alcoholism and drug use. Well, shocker, right? And then your dad falls 3 stories off a ladder, loses a $25 million construction company, JV Lombardi Builders. And then your grandmother has a stroke, led to dementia. She loses $4.2 million to Ludlow Nursing Home in Fairfield across from Sacred Heart. And then when my dad fell 3 stories, I was 15 years old. My sister was 2. She was born with 2 pounds, 7 ounces, fetal alcohol syndrome. My ex-stepmom drank vanilla extract and Listerine during pregnancy. So it was like, put up or shut up, I didn't want to go to DCF. I didn't want somebody, stranger, being my foster parents. So I just shut up and went to school and kept my mouth shut. When you go through that, It sort of changes you where your why is so strong and so powerful that when you just get crapped on and everyone's saying, no, I'm not interested, you stink, blah, 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 you don't care. Like I'm put on this earth to fulfill a prophecy. I'm not here to sell stuff to make money so I can, buy a bigger house. Like it's so much deeper than that. When you have that passion and conviction that, I'm on a mission from God. God showed me what happens when you fail to plan your plans to fail, and get that message out there and say, people, you don't want to suffer the way I suffered, the way my dad suffered, the way my mom suffered, the way my grandmother suffered. You don't want to do that. And if I can help people suffer less, because, not to be super positive, but the who suffers the least wins, in my opinion, in this world, because all this world is suffering. And if I can help people suffer less, I feel like I did my job through God.
Alrighty, folks, sit tight, and we'll be right back on Transacting Value.
Her words weren't written under peaceful shade, but under fear for her life.
Everyone has inside a piece of good news.
For 2 agonizing years, she worried about being caught by the Nazis.
The good news is that you don't know how great you can be.
Though her story ended early, her words live on.
I don't think of all the misery, but of the beauty that still remains.
With her positive outlook, Anne Frank continues to fill us with hope. Hope. Pass it on from passiton.com.
The who suffers the least wins, in my opinion, in this world, because all this world is suffering. And if I can help people suffer less, I feel like I did my job through God.
Okay, fair enough. But you're talking about tax-free pension. And not to get biblical or religious here, but on a mission from God, somebody's still paying taxes in the end. So how do you bridge these gaps? Like, some of this stuff, is it just math? Is it stuff that's just not taught, we don't know? Or is this stuff that's just creatively sort of financing or debt financing futures? I mean, what's the tie?
The tie is that slavery is suffering, and the United States of America is a corporation, and we are all slaves to the United States. You know what the definition of a slave is? Well, it's twofold. If you don't do what they told, they're going to come in your house with guns and punish you, put you in jail, right? That's number one. Number two is when you give your effort, energy, time, God-given talent, and they steal it from you and give you no value back in return. We don't know where that money's going. It's not helping our fellow Americans. It's going to build bombs to kill other people overseas, or starting wars. We're shooting missiles at Russia now for no reason, trying to start World War III right before Trump comes in. There's so much evil when you have a discretion or something where, aren't we all equal under God? Right? Well, they took God out because they don't want people to know that. They want serfs, they want, peasants, and they want kings and squires, and they want this class of know your role. I mean, look at Epstein, look at P. Diddy, all the stuff that happens. Like, Justin Bieber comes in, he's one of the top singers in the world. Within a couple years, who knows what great tragedies happened to him that he's, speaking about. Like, you understand, everything's a hierarchy, everything's about power, everything's about control. And if I can free people from the government, I could free people from slavery and have them build tax-free accounts that they can lean and leverage and grow wealth and have peace. Financial freedom is about peace. Does it matter if you have 500 million or 100 million? Does it matter if you have 50 million or 5 million? It really doesn't. Your quality of life doesn't change. You have shelter's good. Your transportation's good. You can eat decently. So it's not about getting as much money as you can. It's about freeing yourself from chains and slavery. And again, I'm not trying to be like dark and, sad and depressed, but if you look at the world for what it is, my goal is to save people money on taxes. Why? Because I believe tax is theft, period. Do some of your state taxes go to roads and schools? Sure. But for every dollar of tax, it's like March of Dimes, what they call it, March of Dimes, charity, because only a dime of it goes towards actually the cause. The other 90% gets stolen elsewhere. It's the same thing with our taxes. So I just try and free people to say, listen, don't go with the government. They're not your friend. Look at history, right? History doesn't repeat, it rhymes. And when you have history books of government slaughtering millions of its own citizens, why do you think all these countries don't let their citizens have guns? Keep the gun laws. It's so deep. Now we're not gonna get this in 1 hour podcast or a half hour podcast, but if I can free people and I can keep growing my presence, and I can wake people up to the reality of like blue pill, red pill, the matrix, all these little terminologies, the great awakening, all these things we're hearing. Why are we hearing it? Because it's true. People are waking up to what the heck is going on. And if I can accelerate that, that's going to free more people.
Sure. Now, do you think that's rooted in some sort of demoralization as a society? Or is it individual education? Is it upbringing and background? What's the impetus, do you think?
Think about what billionaires do. Do the billionaires let their kids go to public schools? No. Do billionaires invest in 401ks and IRAs and SEP, Simples, pension, deferred comp, 457s? No, you know. So if I can just copy what the ultra wealthy do and bring that to the blue collar market and bring that to everyday Americans, I feel like I do my job, because there's so many a-holes out there that are like, I only work with people with $100 million of net worth. Blah, 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 blah. And it's like, I could be that guy. I've been doing this 21 years. I've worked with 3 Fortune 500 companies. I got 2,000 clients, over $2 billion of protection rollovers in my career. I've won 27 industry awards, blah, 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 blah. I could be that a-hole, but my job is to help people. I've been very blessed that I had a good work ethic. God gave me a life of pain and suffering, which, you know what it did? Made me stronger. You know what happens when you go to the gym? You rip your muscle, and that muscle gets bigger and stronger, and now you're able to do more. And that's what happened to me. So is it socioeconomic? Sure. If you grew up impoverished, do you know what the ultra wealthy do? No. So don't you think it would be smart to know that, instead of knowing what your favorite baseball player batting average is, or what your fantasy sports team's average points per game is? Don't you think it would be kind of important to figure out what are those billionaires and millionaires doing? Because I have clients who make $40,000 a year. They're millionaires. And I have clients who make $800,000 a year and their net worth is negative. So you know what I've learned doing this for 21 years? It makes no difference what you make. What it makes is how you value and love yourself. Do you have a hole in your heart? Do you have childhood trauma? Do you not believe you deserve it? Do you not care? If those are true, it doesn't matter. You hear these people winning the lottery, getting 100, 200, 400 million dollars, enough for 1,000 people to have a great quality of life. And what happens within 3 years? Not only are they broke, what do they say they are? Bankrupt. Which means they lost more than the 200-300 million. They're another 30 40 million in debt on top of the 200 million they lost. You know what that comes down to? Ethics, morals, principles, self-worth. So being financially successful, which money doesn't make you happy, but it solves problems which inadvertently make you happy. If you have financial peace, it's just one part of your life that you can spend time elsewhere, becoming a better version of yourself and growing your soul, which I think is what we're here on this experiment called Earth, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah, absolutely. I think there's a lot of things too that are powerful about what you just said, obviously, because I've got a show about values, but specifically, for example, I talked to a school last week, and the goal that they initially brought me in to talk about was my Marine Corps career and places I'd traveled, things I'd done, why I've done it, sacrifices, what it's done to my family, good, bad, and different. That was the point of the conversation, right? And I said, okay, well, one of the biggest things that I've learned from my Marine Corps career now, just over 15 years, one of the biggest things that I've learned, and I learned a lot, tactically, traveling, whatever, has been about myself. Self-awareness, the impact of a value system, my own worth. Despite now being on a commission as a realtor, I gave up a 6-figure salary, a company vehicle, benefits, and I'm on commission. I may as well be waiting tables. So you don't have to be broken because of it. And I don't mean medically. Tricare is what it is, but like spiritually, right? There's something to be said for that. And it's the same thing. We talked about it earlier. People have 20, 25, 30-year careers. They get out of whatever industry they've been in. Let's say they retire. Let's say they're lucky enough to retire. And they're like, I don't know who I am anymore. Because you focused on the game. You focused on the job, the professional development. But I think the personal development counts for just as much in any other industry as you're saying in finance. It can as well.
Alrighty, folks, sit tight and we'll be right back on Transacting Value.
Alrighty, folks, if you're looking for more perspective and more podcasts, you can check out Transacting Value on REITs Across America Radio. Listen in on iHeartRadio, Odyssey, and TuneIn. let's say they retire. Let's say they're lucky enough to retire. And they're like, I don't know who I am anymore because you focused on the game. You focused on the job, the professional development. But I think the personal development counts for just as much in any other industry as you're saying in finance. It can as well. It's such a huge and highly underrated and understated concept. I mean, it can either revolutionize broadcast media or totally degrade it because it doesn't help ratings. I think that can be problematic. So what's your recommendation then? How do we build this out? This message of self-worth, this, in your case, focus on finances to help bring stability and peace and contentment based on your values, this entrusted sort of wealth planning metric. What's what do? We wait for people to call? Or we go out and we tell people and sort of proselytize? What's the angle?
I'll tell you, I lived a life where I put money as my God, and it brought nothing but sorrow. I made millions, but I lost millions gambling. I didn't value it. Uh, I don't want to sound corny or anything or like a Bible thumper, but the minute that I can just tell you personally, the minute I put God as number one in my life, above my wife, above my children, above my career, my life got better. I lost weight. I got healthier. I started caring about myself. I got a therapist I talked to, which alleviated a lot of the childhood trauma my mom caused me by not wanting me. That was a big hole in my heart. It strengthened my relationship, my marriage, which made me have more self-worth, which pretty much caused more conflict in my marriage. But it made me realize that like I'm worth it.
Yeah.
I don't need to be degraded. I don't need to be used and abused and treated disrespectfully in front of my own children. And it went deep, and I'm in the process of figuring out whether it's better to stay or go. But it also makes you look in the mirror, because I go to the gym and I try and eat better because I was about 30 pounds heavier, even though I'm still overweight. I was obese, and it feels good to like look in the mirror and be like, I feel good about myself. I'm not where I want to be, but I'm better than I was yesterday. And then
Yeah.
having a team, getting 20, 30 people working with me, growing Ironhawk Financial on a daily basis. And I've always been a solo ranger for 20 years. That's so many 10, 20, 15 years. Like, you need an assistant, you need this, you need that. And I nobody could do it as good as me, and
Right.
when I found God's like, you help all these families in their personal finances, help other families, teach them how to sell index universal life, fixed index annuities, eyelid trust, irrevocable life insurance trust, estate planning, like tax and mitigation, like teach those guys everything you've learned, because not only is it going to help them and their families, it's going to help them to do the right thing in this field. How hard it is to be 21 years in this and be 5.0 rated on Google and A plus on the Better Business Bureau with zero complaints. I'm dealing with hundreds of thousands of dollars to millions of dollars per person.
Yeah, I bet.
Again, I won't sound corny, but God is the reason why I feel so much better about myself, who I am, fixed so much healing that I used quick fixes, alcohol, gambling, smoking cigarettes, porn, all the things I did to like numb that feeling. When God was there, I didn't need to do that anymore. And then all that time and energy I wasted on that, I put into my business. And my business, I was making $1 million a year. I'm on track next year. I want to make 100 million. And I
Good for
want to
you.
reinvest that back in to grow. Not so I already can afford a 600 horsepower car. I already have one for years. I already bought a brand new Escalade this year. Cool. Right. Awesome. But that's not going to change anyone's life. Right. It makes me feel good when I get in it or whatever. But I want to make a difference. Right. And when you have a mission, and money is not the goal, but growth and awareness to a big problem, I think that's out there. It's bigger than yourself, and it's God and Yeshua. That's my God, and hopefully you all have your own. And if you don't believe in God, I hope you fix that, because you didn't create yourself. So if you didn't, who didn't? But you just have to realize that when God is in my life, I'm so much happier. It's like having a little buddy, like Trump's my little buddy. I'm glad he won, but it's like God's my little dude over here. Like, hey, I may be lonely, I may be depressed, I may be arguing with my spouse, or lost a deal, but I got a little buddy right there that I'm like, it's okay. Who cares who's next? Let's go. And that's something that is vitally important that everyone needs and not a lot of people have because they took God out of our country. And I think we need to put him back.
Yeah, there's something to be said for spirituality, and I don't necessarily mean religion. To the point you brought up, there's
Correct. I am not
follow whatever
religious
you like.
at all.
Right.
Yep. I'm not religious at all. I don't go to church. I don't believe in the Catholic Church. I actually think even though I'm Catholic, I'm Italian, right? Everything is Catholic. I think they're the worst. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of aspects I think that people tend to misconstrue, but human spirit, let alone any degree of inspiration through a Holy Spirit or whatever you prefer to align with, is absolutely contagious, and it changes everything. Perspective, clarity, purpose, hope. You can't buy those.
Nope.
You can't. It doesn't matter what educational systems you purchase. Yeah, right. Value systems, let's just call them. Like,
yeah,
there is a certain inherent benefit to internal modes of control. And on one hand of this spectrum, let's just say it's affirmation every morning. I am a super awesome dude and I'm going to have a great day today. In the mirror, great, do it, whatever. If that works, that works. And in my opinion, that's the same sort of financial parallel as I don't have $1 to invest today, but I can find 2 quarters underneath my driver's seat and I'm not spending them unless it's something that's going to grow money, right? Cool, great, do that. On the other hand, podcasting for me has become my therapy, right? It gives me people like you to talk to probe, to learn about this human experience and helps me get through my own whatever mental health issues, behavioral isms, things that I've transitioned from the Marine Corps into, like I said, now real estate. Like you can't talk about like in my case, the infantry going on a long patrol, shooting at places where people live. Hey, do you want to buy a house? Like there's no overlap, you know? And so some of the stuff that exists though is humanity. Here's what that looks like. Talking about ethics and morals and decision-making processes and collateral and opportunity cost and all these other actual economic things that are the same principles. But the spirit between the two, the amount of resonance that something like that builds, that's how you get clients. That's how you help people. That's how you get listeners. That's how you make friends. That's how you have sleepovers when you're 5, you know, like just it's the good dude rule, just with a cross in some cases, in some buildings, in some places. Right. But yeah, being able to interact with people as just a ground level human, despite any degrees of success, I think is huge. And so, like in your case, you've got all sorts of stuff. I've seen you on magazine covers, other podcasts, radio show, which we'll talk about here soon. Dude, you've got so much stuff going on. How do you stay grounded?
When the goal is bigger than you and my why is so strong, I don't get tired. I mean, I'm not the most physical, specimen of success, but I can work 12, 14 hours a day with a smile on my face, happy. And I don't need to work anymore. When you get to a point where you have billions of dollars of protection and rollovers in your career, thousands of clients, there's residual in this business. I have 6 different businesses. I got real estate, blah, 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 blah. I don't have to work anymore. I just turned 40, but my why is so strong that I've been so blessed. I want to bless other people. All the pain and all the suffering I had in my childhood, that's not me anymore. I'm a 40-year-old man. I don't live there anymore. And I live in this abundance. I don't live in scarcity. When you change your mindset to live in abundance, life changes. Like if you buy a red car, what do you see? Nothing but red cars
everywhere.
You buy an Acura, what do you see? Nothing but Acuras, right? Mm-hmm. That is how we are programmed. If you think you can, you will. If you think you can't, you won't. Either way, you're right. The little train that could, right? We learned that when we were 3 years old. But It's so true. So many people have negative self-talk. My whole life changed in regards to production, success, all that. When I started listening to, believe it or not, Amway double diamond CDs. You remember that network marketing company Amway that sold soap, and then they got into like energy drinks and so. This is 2006, 2007, 2008.
Yeah.
And I started listening. My buddy went in, right? And I joined just to like buy some stuff to help him out, right? And then he said, come to the meetings. And I'm like, I'm already selling insurance. I'm already selling, like, going to sit down on people's couches, selling like energy drinks and stuff. So like I learned so much from these CDs, because what they were like the meetings they have every quarter, that, you know, the hoorahs, and all it was positive self-talk. It was a bunch of people. A lot of them weren't even Americans. You know, they had downlines in South America. They had downlines in Australia, and they would go on stage and be like, I knew I could do it, you know? And I was just like, a lot of them, it was just hilarious. Me and my buddy had an inside joke on it. But like, we knew that they can do it. Like, and these are just normal people. And they had such conviction that like what they were doing was the best thing. And they would talk about their wins, and that sparked something in me. I don't know. 'Cause if you can see it as a possibility, your mind can comprehend it as an opportunity. But if you've never seen it, you have no idea it exists, how could your mind portray that into reality, right? And we live in we're learning a lot about our virtual reality of whatever the heck this is, and video games can make video games, and AI, and we're getting deeper into figuring out what the hell we're here for and how everything works, right? But a lot of consensus of this information is we dictate our reality with our projection of reality. Right? So if you think something is, it is. If you think something is, it isn't. And if you think you're a winner, you're a winner. If you think you're a loser, you're a loser. If you surround yourself with losers, you're going to be a loser. If you surround yourself with winners, you're going to be a winner. And the word winner or loser has whatever that is to you. There is no universal definition of a winner or a loser. It's just whatever. Are you going closer towards your personal goals? Do you have personal goals? I mean, if you don't have goals, I mean, what the heck are you doing? Right? Yeah. If you have dreams and you don't write them down, you have nothing. You have to take a dream, write it down on a piece of paper, it becomes a goal. Then from the goal, you figure out, how do I get there? And then you obsess about it. How, you know, and think of, how do I win? How do I lose? Reach out to people, talk to people that are, you know, and the quickest way to success in anything is copy the most successful person that you have access to. That's what I did. I was at Barnum Financial Group, which was MetLife's number one office in the country. They were the number one general agency with numbers, like 400 agents. I found one of their top guys, Mike Lynch. He had a radio show, Money Talk, on WICC. And I have a radio show called Money Talk with Ironhawk. I wonder why. So I just copied him. I swear to God, I just copied him. And he was so good, and he taught me so much. And what I learned from him in that year, that I just brought opportunities to him, and I sat there and, you know, whatever he said, and I'm duplicating that with my guys. And I got guys that are a year into the business making six figures. It's selling, you know, IULs. And I got one guy, we opened up a $1.2 million commission. The guy never closed a $50,000 deal in his life. He opened up a $1.2 million commission with me. So it's all about finding who you want to be and copying it. There's 8 billion people. You're most likely not going to reinvent the wheel. Okay. So copy who you want to be, and then just emulate and become your version, right? Personally, your version of that, what you deem as a winner or successful.
Alrighty, folks, sit tight, and we'll be right back on Transacting Value.
This message is brought to you by TogetherWeServed.com, a leading online community of over 2.3 million veterans. Launched in 2003 and run by veterans, TogetherWeServed.com provides its veteran members an easy way to stay connected and take pride in their service. Using its powerful search engine, veterans can find people they served with in the units, ships, bases, or squadrons they were assigned to and get in touch. Plus, a veteran's full military service history from enlistment to separation, including all memories and associated photos, is preserved for posterity on their service profile. This history is also made available for free in beautifully illustrated presentations that can be shared, printed, or framed. If you served, visit TogetherWeServed.com.
Copy who you want to be, and then just emulate and become your version, right? Personally, your version of that, what you deem as a winner or successful.
I like that. Sort of like your own impressionist painting of your reality, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, what?
There's a
Don't
lot of
reinvent the wheel.
right. Well, there's not a need, right? It's like we talked about earlier. Once you start to see different patterns or different opportunities or gain exposure, it gives you insight. It gives you depth, ideas. The only person I think that I can think of right now off the top of my head that had no idea what he was looking at was like Copernicus. And then there was Galileo. And then there was Isaac Newton. And they just copied each other. So, okay, maybe there's the one. But I don't think we have that excuse anymore unless it's like quantum mechanics or something. Beyond that, I'm not saying everything's discovered, but there's certainly plenty of potential to reinterpret everything from 8 billion different perspectives. So,
I mean, look at Elon Musk,
yeah, sure.
He's a billionaire genius, but what did he do? He already took a brand that already existed and made it better. So you could say he copied what the guy did before and just made it his spin on it and became a freaking bazillionaire.
Yeah. Well, it was the same thing with Tesla. It was the same thing with technically SpaceX until the last decade when it changed some, but obviously Twitter, right? So, yeah, there's plenty of opportunities there. And to the point you brought up, I may be preaching to the choir here, but have you ever read Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill?
Yes.
Right?
Rich Dad,
Desire,
Poor Dad, Who Moved My
Faith.
Cheese. There's so many books that are crucial to your success.
Well, yeah, absolutely there are. But specifically in Think and Grow Rich, that's exactly how he opens the book. And he's talking about if you don't, Napoleon Hill, for anybody who's unfamiliar, was the author. But the first thing that he talks about in the book is just have a dream, have a spark, have some inspiration, or be willing to get it from somewhere. And once you get the inspiration and you get a spark, and you've got to have faith it'll work out. And once you get dreams and you get faith, it's following a passion after that. And then you'll read the book, track it down. It's
a
worthwhile.
why.
But it
Have
is.
a why. If your why is to make money, you're going to fail 10 out of 10 times.
Dude, do you want, okay, so here's something cool for you then. I'm not going to try my hand at statistics. I got a D. I'm not even going to make them up for you. But everybody's big why is more often rooted in a big who. And so I think that who sometimes is a group of people, maybe a demographic, maybe a family unit, maybe an individual, a sister, father. But whatever that driver is, whoever the who is, I think to just stop at, well, my why is I want to have a lot of money so I have security or financial freedom. Okay, but why do you want the freedom? Why does that matter? Just keep working till you die and you'll get plenty of money, right? As long as you're responsible with it. Usually there's a who involved. And it may be the past version of yourself, but there's always a who. So I think that's super powerful. You know what? This is a good time of the show. This is a segment called Developing Character.
Developing character.
And for anybody new, Joe, maybe you included, if you're unfamiliar with the segment, it's 2 questions because values, as we've been talking about, are so impactful in every decision for the sake of clarity and purpose and insight and perspective and self-worth that they drive all these other decisions. But I don't think they're only taught. I think sometimes we catch on to them and they're nurtured. And so my 2 questions are based on time and as vulnerable as your answers or as you're willing to be. So I'll give you both questions. What were some of your values growing up or that you remember being brought up around? And then if any of them have changed since you've grown up throughout your life, what are some of your values now?
Great question. Values I grew up with, mind you, I had no mother. Mind you, I grew up in the streets. Mind you, I was raised by TLC, which was tender love and care, daycare, but I called it torturing little children because I was dropped off early and then stayed till late. The values we had were, don't tell on people, don't tattletale, also known as snitch. Be a man of your word. Your word's everything on the street. If you say you're going to do something, do it. If you owe someone money, pay them. We've seen many kids get their butt beat because their word wasn't any good. The values I had, oh God, all the stuff I did as a kid, go back in time and beat the crap out of myself. My values were all about having fun. I did a lot of things I can look back on and wasn't proud of, but egging houses, smashing mailboxes, stealing from KB Toy Store, just doing just stupid stuff. But the values that I had then are different. The values I have now. Once you get married, but more importantly, once you have a child, once you hold a baby in your arms, that's your child. That is going to change your values. You are not going to be a selfish POS anymore. And boy, was I. I had a 6-pack. I used to run 10 miles a day. I had a new car. I had a rap CD. I could freestyle for hours. I smoked a bunch of weed. Life was fun, right? No wife, no kids, no mortgage, no nothing. Just where we getting high? Who we going to hook up with and what we eating? That was the only questions. Now, values a lot different, I got a daughter who's 9. I got a boy who's 12. I got another boy who's 15. They look up to me. They see my pain. They see my success. They see my drive. And the values now being a father and a husband and a business owner, because now I have employees too, which are almost like kids, right? In a good way, in a non-mean way. But values are very, very important now than they were when I was younger. So they're a lot different, way more deeper, way more spiritual, way more positive on growth orientation than just selfish orientation.
There's an author, his name is Norman Vincent Peale. Have you heard of him?
I have not.
He's a pastor. Don't quote me on the religion. I can't remember. Presbyterian, maybe. That's not really the point, but he's a pastor and he's an author. Anyway, he wrote a book called The Power of Positive Thinking. And I know it sounds an awful lot like Cheerleader's Handbook for Dummies, but it's not. The focus behind the book is exactly what you're describing, right? It's applying laws of magnetism and familiarity and this sort of appeal in the world in a positive direction, and then it comes back to you. Not to say that you're blind or ignorant towards anything that's negative, right? You're realistic and grounded, but your interpretation of what's happening helps you to see that there's always a light, there's some sort of an out, there's some sort of an option to try to rebuild, to recover, to invest in your future in any particular, I guess, adverb. So, anyways, yeah, if you're unfamiliar, short book, easy read, but that exemplifies a lot of what you're describing as well. So, okay, I really, for the sake of time, I guess only have 3 more questions for you. So this one is specifically about your work, professionally speaking here. You've taken people from 4, 5, 6 figures financially, let's say, but with exponentially more ignorance in the process and educated them to do whatever degrees of success have come because of it. Are they finding this information familiar, like they've learned it before, but it's just clicking? Or is this all brand new stuff that's not taught?
This is now becoming more popular on social media. Infinite banking, be your own bank, rich person's Roth. It's now starting to catch wind. There's a lot of, it's great, it sucks, it's a scam, it's awesome, because a lot of people don't understand it. There's a lot of variables within that space. What carrier? Are they mutual? Are they, are they stock? What are the riders? How's the build? Did the guy screw you on the build? Is it built properly to build cash value growth? What are the returns? Can you lose? Is it fixed? What, am I premium stuck with it? Do I have flexibility? Is it non-direct recognition? Is it direct recognition? It is insanely sophisticated and complex. The strategy I've been doing for 21 years. And the average Joe, my name's Joe, tries to get into the business and doesn't really know what they're doing. And they just sell whatever their sales manager tells them to sell if they work in New York Life or Guardian or Mass Mutual or MetLife or whatever. Being a master broker is insanely tiresome. You have to know what hundreds of carriers' flagship products are. Then you got to know what all their sub products are, what their fixed annuities, growth annuities, whole lives, income, IULs, universal life growth. What's the best one? They're second to die. The SIULs. It is insanely overwhelming. But having a team, I work with IMOs, which is independent marketing organizations. I work with general agencies known as GAs. I work with wholesalers that tell me what they think. I have other agents that I'm friends with in the field that they say, this is what I'm doing. This is why I'm doing it. And I look into it and I see what I'm doing. And then I check to see if their stuff's better than mine. And 9 out of 10 times it's not. But, like you just, now it's becoming more popular, a lot more popular, because people are waking up. I hate using that stupid word, but it's true. People are getting out of their trance and they're starting to care about what's important to them.
I think a lot of that is exposure. I mean, it's the two factors, I think, to any successful business. You got to have awareness and you got to have demand. One without the other, either way, it's going to stagnate. So, yeah, I guess maybe it was a matter of time, but all things considered, I guess, then congratulations, because it sounds like you're going to have a lot of new business coming your way too. Uh, but so my second to last question then, all these experiences that you've had firsthand, and then let's say secondhand through your clients, stories you've heard, people you've talked to throughout your life, what has it all actually done for you? How has it, instigated your own self-worth?
When I can provide a quality of life for my children that I didn't have. I grew up in extreme poverty. I was around drugs. I was around guns. And I live in a cul-de-sac in a safe neighborhood, great school system. That makes me feel good. When I have agents that start copying me and I tell them, copy me, and we're doing, we meet 3 hours a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, an hour each. I pour into my agents to teach them everything to become me. And when we do our round robins where we practice and they sound just like me, it's almost like a proud papa. Like this guy trusts me enough to give me his time, his energy, his family's, well-being, whether they're going to eat or not, because this is a commission business. It's 100% sales, just like your realty business you're doing. You got to go all in on yourself. And when people make that bet and you provide value, there's nothing better. It's the top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which is self-accusation, where that what you're doing is changing people's lives for the better. And it's very, very rewarding.
Yeah, fulfilling that kind of actualization, I think, is a lifelong aspiration. So to do it, all things considered, to this point in 21 years, is a huge feat in and of itself. So congratulations again,
Thank
I
you.
guess. So my last question, then, for the sake of time, all of these things you're doing, man, Money Talk with Ironhawk, Ironhawk Financial, your radio show, Ironhawk Financial, uh, books, other appearances on podcast. Like, if people want to get in touch with you to be a client, to follow along, to copy and paste, or to learn and invent something on their own accord, where do we go?
So if you want to become an agent, I'm aggressively recruiting experienced agents. I know if you're new, I'll still try and help you, but it's just, I don't have so much time in the day. You can go to www.ironhawkfinancial.com, contact us. If you want to get on my calendar, again, you can go to calendly.com/Ironhawk Financial. If you want to get copies of my books, the articles, the Forbes articles, my articles I'm featured in, absolutely for free. Just write an email to Joe, Joe, at iron like the metal, hawk like the bird, financial, Joe at ironhawkfinancial.com, and just put free books. I'm not going to bother you. You're not going to go on any type of email list. I promise. That's not how I roll. But I just try and bring value. I try to get this information out there, and then, you can do your own due diligence. If you like it, great. We'll work together. If you don't, we can leave as friends. But it's something where I believe everybody should have a financial foundation.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, to everybody who's listening to this or watching this conversation, depending on the player you're streaming this conversation on, click see more, click show more in the drop down description for this conversation. You'll be able to find links to Ironhawk Financial website, obviously Calendly then for Joe, and to be able to track down these free books. Joe, I appreciate the opportunity, man. This was a super cool conversation. And I got to tell you, not for nothing, I'm glad it had some financial insight. but I'm more glad that that's not all it was. So thanks for bringing some depth and some perspective in the financial industry, but just as a human, dude. I really appreciate your time. Thank you.
I appreciate the opportunity, Josh. I think you're an amazing man. And, I appreciate you giving me your platform to share my beliefs in. So thank you very much.
Yeah, dude. Absolutely. Now, to everybody who's listened or watching our conversation, this point is to you. You can listen to all of our other conversations at our website, transactingvaluepodcast.com. That includes this one. You can listen to it on repeat and take all the gems that Joe put into the conversation. What you can also get, though, the homepage in the top right corner, it says leave a voicemail. Click on that button. It's 2 minutes of talk time, all to you. You can say whatever you want, but here's my 2 recommendations. 1, consider telling us what you think of the show, the topics, the guests, the brand, the messaging, the marketing. Give us feedback because we're all growing through life together, and this is a startup business, so I'm down to learn. But 2, in that opportunity, you can also tell Joe what you think of this conversation. Let him know what you thought about the points he made and how well or unwell he communicated and carried his point across. If you're interested in talking to him about things that he does and how he did it, and you can't remember the website or where to go to the homepage, transactingvaluepodcast.com, leave a voicemail, and we'll forward the audio on to Joe and get you guys in touch. There are so many cool opportunities and insights that came out of this conversation. I don't know if we can put them all into reels or break them up into as many places as they need to go or could go, but we're going to make an effort, dude. So I really appreciate it. And at any other time throughout the year, throughout the rest of this season, 2025, all these things, I'm looking forward to your show. I'm going to track down your radio show. I'm hoping you guys syndicate or somehow make it out of Connecticut. You're not local, are you?
No, we're national. Actually, we're global. It's like 60% of my audience is out of the U.S., so I'm trying to change that because I can't offer anything out of the U.S.
All right. Well, we'll see what we can do to help you maybe with that as well. But so it's a digital radio station. Where do we go to find your show?
It's Brushwood Media Group, but it's on everything: Apple CarPlay, Apple Spotify, Apple Podcasts. On you name it, a podcast app. You just type in "Money Talk with Ironhawk." It's everywhere.
There we go. All right, guys, you heard it here. Maybe first, but Joe, again, thank you for your time, man. I appreciate it, and to everybody else, thank you guys for tuning in, listening to our show. Stay with us. Listen throughout the rest of the season. We got loads of cool content. Again, transactingvaluepodcast.com. Track us down on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube at transactingvaluepodcast.com. Way more content coming your way. But until next time, that was Transacting Value.
Thank you to our show partners. And folks, thank you for tuning in and appreciating our value as we all grow through life together. To check out our other conversations, or even to contribute through feedback, follows, time, money, or talent, and to let us know what you think of the show, please leave a review on our website, transactingvaluepodcast.com. We also stream new episodes every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time through all of your favorite podcasting platforms like Spotify, iHeart, and TuneIn. You can now hear Transacting Value on Reads Across America Radio Eastern Standard Time, Wednesdays at 5 p.m., Sundays at noon, and Thursdays at 1 a.m. Head to readsacrossamerica.org/transactingvalue to sponsor a wreath and remember, honor, and teach the value of freedom for future generations. On behalf of our team and our global ambassadors, as you all strive to establish clarity and purpose, ensure social tranquility, and secure the blessings of liberty or individual sovereignty of character for yourselves and your posterity, we will continue instigating self-worth, and we'll meet you there. Until next time, that was Transacting Value.